Hey everybody, Morgana Galaxia here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to be back today, and I'm coming on because I want to do a trip around the world. Yes, a little international flavor today. So I plan on taking a look at, depending on how long it takes me to get through all these, I want to look at Russia, of course, and China. I also want to look at Iran, North Korea, the Philippines, I said North Korea, Mexico, and Canada. Okay, so that's a lot. I don't know if I'll be able to get through all that, but we're definitely going to start with some Russia. Okay, Russia. So, Russia and Putin, kind of two different things. The fate of them both are intertwined, but they're distinct. So, I think I'm going to do a quick see on Putin, and then I'll do a fuller read on Russia first, okay? So let's do that. Let's take just a quick peek see of Putin. I've already shuffled my cards. Putin. Okay. Well, the face of the question is the Four of Wands reversed. This is typically my White House card, because normally in the normal deck it's a nice White House. But anyways, what this card is pointing to is, I feel like this is kind of pointing to being unseated, losing his residence, losing his job, kind of being unceremoniously dumped. This Four of Wands often represents, celebrations of accomplishments. And with it reversed, that would mean, of course, that he is upset over some defeats. He might have been defeated. Something he tried to do and it didn't work out. It was, it was bunk. It just kind of fell through. But this is definitely a sense of, being displaced, losing your seat, okay? So far, Putin's got himself in power through, 2036 or something crazy like that. We know there's lots of protests. We know there's lots of protests. They're really mad at him with the whole Navalny thing over there in Russia. So if this isn't a foretelling of his being deposed, then at least people are friggin' trying, okay? They're trying really hard. What is Putin's challenge with the Fool? Well, the Fool is definitely a new beginning, a whole new life path, a new journey forward for the rest of your life. The Fool leaves everything behind, and with generally happiness, enthusiasm, they embark on a whole new journey. Putin don't want that. No. He wants to stay in power. He wants to keep his seat. But that seat's being flipped over around him, and his challenge is going to be starting a new journey, having a new path forward. His outcome with the Five of Pentacles. So this is traditionally your poverty card, okay? But I often see it as being outcast. Those in power, those who have the authority, those with the money. So for example, the government, the church, you're kind of outcast, thrown out in the cold, all right? Walking through the snow, thrown out in the cold. So, and obviously also extreme financial loss. It's the poverty card. So definitely losing money here. So interesting. I feel like, this is not what I would have expected on a reading for Putin. Let me just say that. I'm just telling you what the cards are telling me. It's pretty basic. He's going to be unseated. He's not liking the fact that he's got a new path ahead of him. And that path includes financial losses and perhaps some ostracization as well. Hope I said that right. Yeah. Okay, that is my short and sweet reading on Putin. But I do want to take a little bit longer look at Russia. Russia. So, when I think of Russia, this is just a very old nation. Their people have just consistently suffered under authoritarian rule. They're very proud and advanced. A lot of great science, incredible science has come out of Russia. They just are always burdened with these dictators. They haven't tasted freedom. It's like, I think when, was it Gorbachev and Glasnost was happening in the 80s or 90s with Clinton? Started with Reagan, but through Clinton especially, they really tried to bring democracy into Russia. And I feel like we kind of figured out they don't really, it's not in their blood. They don't really know how to be a democratic nation. But they've got, the people, again, a big, old, proud, smart, resourceful peoples that they need to be free, okay? They need to be set free in whichever way works for them. It's just not going to be our brand of democracy. Okay, so I'm just I know I'm talking a lot. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get into that flow, Getting in the flow, Russia. So, yeah, I just feel like the sense of just these people need their freedom. Okay, so let's take a nice read on Russia. Going forward, let's bring it down so you can see here. Okay, so this is, obviously Putin heads Russia right now, but that's not going to be forever. I'm not calling a time frame on this. But what we're starting out with here, with the Six of Pentacles, this is the back and forth of money, the give and take of money, the wealthy, the poor. You give from the wealthy, ideally, to the poor, or from the wealthy to the poor, ideally. But with dictatorships, obviously, that always happens the other way, doesn't it? You take from the poor and keep enriching the wealthy. Russia has a problem with oligarchs, all right? They have extreme wealth disparity in Russia. That is one of their primary causes. And Putin, by, everything I hear, is in complete control of all those oligarchs. He's probably one of the wealthiest human beings on the planet. And Russians not doing so well. So this is telling us right where to look, okay? If you want to think about Russia, you need to think about income disparity, wealth disparity, just like here in the United States, okay? Just like here in the United States. This is something that the US and the Russians have in common. The people are struggling. People are struggling while the elite stays wealthy. This is also the card, of course, donations, of trying to balance that out, good works, again, giving from the rich to the poor. They need to, focus on doing that, balancing the economic playing field, just like the United States. Interesting that we have that in common. We're used to thinking that with Russia. We know their people have been struggling for a long time. I often get the sense people internationally don't quite realize how tough it is for everyday Americans. Okay, so what is Russia's challenge with the Page of Swords? Russia's challenge, I'm going to say with this page here, is corruption, okay? They've got all these low, I don't know all that much about Russia, okay? I'm not pretending to be an expert here, but I'm just feeling these low-level politicians, right? The ones who are always grifting, the scammers, the ones funneling. There's just this like low-level legal shenanigans going on. I think what the problem Russia's having is just the widespread corruption. It all flows from the top. Yeah, okay, Putin's corrupt, But this card is broadening that out nationwide. Mayors, governors, their versions of those things, right? Mayors, governors, the police force, there's just a lot of law breaking. They're not all on the up and up. There's just a lot of criminality, and yeah, that is a huge problem over there. I think we know. What does Russia need to face? Face the Queen of Pentacles. So what I'm feeling here, what they need to face, what they need to grapple with, and is the role of women in their workforce. Okay, so when women entered the workforce here in the US, the economy got better. I mean, everything improved. Women in the workforce is so important. I'm sure there's women in the workforce in Russia, but it's this balance. They just have an issue there that they need to look at and address. The equality of women, how women get paid, the power women hold in those upper echelons of power and government. They have some work to do putting female energy in there, because female energy is healing energy. Female energy balances things out, makes it gentler, more benevolent, less hierarchical, more intuition and caring, and those sort of traditional things. That energy, they need that. They need that to start healing themselves and really perfecting themselves as a nation, being a better nation. This is something, if they want for long term, always, if they want to better their country, they need to start looking at the role of women in the workforce, as business leaders, as the economic powerhouse that they have the potential to be over there, just like we are over here. So what's foundational? We have the sun. And so what's foundational here, I feel like, is their potential. It's their potential. I don't know that I'd necessarily call them an optimistic people. I don't get the sense that that's true, but I just don't know if that really is a part of their culture. But the potential is there. The strength is there. The industry, the hope. I feel like the hope is still there. They still have the ability to think forward, look forward to something better. So that form of optimism, that hope for clarity, that hope for things being exposed and being healed and renewed, that's foundational to this question of Russia. That's foundational to them. So they have an underlying, I want to say, like a layer of light. They still have access to the light to bring that forth and to shine in goodness, and not just always be that dark, evil Russia, right? It doesn't have to be like that. It just, they have the ability to turn from the dark towards the light. That's foundational. The energy they've just come through with the Four of Swords. So, okay, someone's been injured and is in retreat. Russia's, I'm not talking about, this certainly could be Putin. Putin's been injured. Everything, not working out the way he wanted with Trump here in the US, definitely injured him as far as his relation to the US and perhaps on the world stage. But past that, lots of people are really pissed at Putin, and he's been injured. There's also reports about some declining health and Parkinson's and things. He might be retreating. And in a larger sense, Russia has retreated. So this is in the past card, sort of recent past. So I get the feeling that, I feel like Putin's kind of having to pull back. Trump lost and people have found out what's going on. Here in the US, people have found out what Russia's been doing, right? We've found out about all the hacking. We've, the whole thing with Navalny being poisoned, and, Putin's just, and all the people, if you've seen videos of all the protests in Russia against Putin right now, I mean, oh my God, they're massive. So yeah, I feel like there's a constriction going on in that country. Putin's I think he's probably chilling, laying low, pulling back, retreating a little, which means that Russia, I think, on the world stage will also tend to themselves, maybe for they current, the kind of, again, in the past and up until now, they're working on themselves. Anyways, going forward, where's Russia going with the Page of Pentacles? Okay, Page of Pentacles. So they're looking for economic opportunity. They need to find their gift. They need to find their strength. Most likely that's going to have to take some sort of economic form, okay, for this to really, with this Pentacles especially, monetarily, what's their strength, what's their gift, how can they, gird themselves and provide for themselves and just look for new opportunities and create a better world, create a better standard of living for their people. So this is not surprising, given the card that we had a little bit earlier. Money is a huge problem. The imbalance of money being such a huge problem in Russia means that there's been a lot of lack of opportunity. People are kind of stifled, right? The thumbs on them. Putin's got his boot on people's necks, and they're going to be looking to shed that and to kind of maybe join the larger global economy, or just build up their economy. Find out, they have a lot of oil. We don't want them to ruin their environment or anything like that, but what do they have? What are their natural resources? What do they have to offer their own peoples and the rest of the world? So they can begin to build their wealth, their standard of living, and just, have a more secure and happy people. Okay, so that's what I've got for Russia. Next, let's move on to China. Okay, China, and their president is Xi Jinping. I believe I said that right. Xi Jinping and China. All right. So, China. When I think about China, what do we think about? Elaine Chao, being the daughter of a Chinese shipping magnate, lots of money. I think of all the proprietary, stealing they do, corporate espionage, that kind of thing, stealing secrets. It's all economic type of stuff, like technology and all this and that. COVID, let's not forget about that. And it's taken a long time. It's taken a long time for people to go back to this. Okay. Sorry, you guys, my bangs are bugging me. All right. So COVID. All right. First, there was talk. Could this have come from a lab? Oh, no. It was from a bat in a wet market. Oh, scientists say probably wasn't a lab. I'm sure it was, this bat in this wet market. And maybe it was. I don't know. But, it's a pretty big coincidence that there is a lab in Wuhan. And Bill Maher had a really interesting interview with a couple of scientists recently who were like, we kind of need to go back and look at that, because this virus has a lot of characteristics that aren't shared with naturally occurring viruses. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is going to be a huge part of China, China's relations with the world going forward, especially if they do find out this was indeed a lab-created virus. And I'm not saying it is. I don't know. I'm just saying that's a question that's hanging out there, and people are still looking at it. But again, very ancient peoples. They've had some issues, but they've got so much potential. Not just, like you say with a child, oh, you have so much potential. I don't mean that condescendingly. They have so many gifts and so many strength and so much wisdom and just, so much more history than we do. But they turned into a communist country and they've had some problems. Okay, so China. China. So let's bring it on down. All right, so for the face of the reading, I have the Empress card. And what I'm getting with this card, okay, first of all, I'm just going to say Kuan Yin was the first thing that popped in my mind. But the Empress is a feminine energy, that nurturing, caretaking, abundance, the fruitfulness of the land, the joy of the people, the wealth of the nation. It's just abundance, potentiality, joy that is spread throughout the land for everybody. Okay, this wonderful, wonderful energy. And so for China, I just think this points to, they're just such a large country. They have so many people, so many resources, so many skills and abilities, and their potential for abundance is there, okay? So much so, just this is coming to me, that it's almost like they overproduce. It's overabundance in a way. And, maybe all of you realize that you can barely buy anything in this country here that's not made in China. You really have to go looking for stuff that's made somewhere else. Everything made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China. The reason is because they just have this industriousness. Their output right now is goods are just flowing, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's all great. There's some balance issues and environmental issues, okay? But this is pointing to the abundance of China actually flows out to the rest of the world, to the point where here in this country, to try and find something made in America, good luck, all right? Good luck. So what is their challenge? The sun, okay? The sun is their challenge, which tells me that they've gone secretive, okay? They're going towards closing things up, being secretive, not shining the light on different things, just keeping things in the dark, keeping things on the down low, not sharing as being, as exposed and having the light shine on things as much as it should. They're secretive. They're trying to keep things in the dark. They're keeping secrets. There's certain things that they don't feel like the rest of the world needs to know about. And of course, I wonder if this relates to COVID. There's probably secrets they're keeping there. There's things that they don't want the rest of the world to know. This is a challenge to them, trying to keep a lid on that. Maybe it's COVID, maybe it's something else, or other things, a variety of things. Just the theme, right, of secrecy. Keeping it dark, keeping a lid on it, keeping it in the shadows. They got to work on their shadow sides. Okay, so what they're going to be facing with the Page of Swords. So just, legal battles, all right? Legal battles, legality, courts. I just think that this is, their trade agreements with the U.S. and other places, just sort of business relations, but nothing too over the top. This is kind of mid-level stuff, mid-level negotiations, mid-level legal things. So I don't feel like they're facing any grand big problem. There's no big explosion right in front of them. It's sort of the everyday mundane legal battles and challenges that any nation and government and so forth would go through. But, it does indicate that sword, of course, is the sword of truth and justice. It's the sword of truth and justice. So I get the feeling that through these kinds of cases and communications and suits or whatever these swords represent, they, case by case, decide in the moment what kind of country they want to be. Do they want to be the country of truth and justice, or do you want to be the country of warfare? Every small decision you make, you build up the kind of person you are or the kind of nation that they're going to be. So how they act, just in the everyday, how they treat people, how they follow the law, how they hold people to account, those everyday decisions is really what is going to move this country to however it wants to be. Okay, so in the past, we've got the Ace of Pentacles. Interesting. So when I think of China and the Ace of Pentacles here, I think of them as this is them being the economic powerhouse that they are. They have got so many resources available to them. Their economy is booming. They actually, here in the US, we're concerned about it. They're our number one competition on the global stage. They're the competition because they're smart, right? They're fast. They're resourceful. They're innovative. And they're our competition. And that's where they are sitting on top of. But this is in the past. Interesting. So this tells me that either now that we have the Biden administration in place, the challenge to that is now in place, and them being the economic powerhouse is starting to be a thing of the past, that now we're going to resume our place as the world's economic powerhouse. There's that. I'm also getting a sense of this idea of them being the world economic powerhouse. It's a bit of a bubble, okay? It's a bit of a thought bubble that might have just popped. They've got a lot of problems. Yeah, their potential's there, but they've got a lot of problems. And what this pentacle also tells us to look at is their environmental problems. What are they doing to their lands and their waters and their skies? Okay, it's all there. They need to be caretakers of their land, or are they gonna, like we did in this country at the beginning, and what we're struggling with now is this idea of exploiting the land, right? Just exploiting it for everything it's worth, wringing every little bit of juice out of it. Or are they gonna caretake their land, right? Let's go right into, climate crisis. They're gonna have to be built in relationships with the international community, how they want to address climate. And because they're so large and so industrious, like the US, they're gonna be a leader. They have to be a leader when it comes to this. This being in the past position, though, means that in some way it's fading, it's passing, it's declining. Okay, into the future. China, Knight of Cups. So moving into the future. So the Knight of Cups can be, it's just a really wonderful card. This is your hero on the white horse. This is the romantic lover riding in to sweep you away. It's healing energy. So China's going to be moving into an energy of healing, of compassion, of emotion. Yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm just trying to get something more on there. I'm feeling again COVID, okay, but I don't know, in some kind of way, the energies China's moving into is just one of healing, of reparations, of just emotional, I want to just say emotional closure. They're going to be taking some steps to sort of heal themselves and heal the world community. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, but that's just what I'm getting right now. Okay. So I'm actually going to do the Philippines next because someone asked me to do the Philippines a while ago and I haven't, but I'm gonna now. So Duterte is their president and he is a piece of work. Okay, he's a piece of work. He basically, he wanted, I think it was a couple of years ago, he has a drug war in the Philippines and he essentially just wanted to kill addicts and people, you know, whoever was arrested regarding drugs. I don't know if it was users or just everybody. Just very murderous, right? He kills a lot of people. He's a dictator. He loves Trump, okay? Like him and Trump, boom. Very similar, just type of authoritarianism, violent. Okay, but that's Duterte. But I want, so him in the Philippines, okay? Just, we're reading on the Philippines. Give us an overview. The Philippines led by Duterte. Philippines. Okay. Alrighty. Duterte in the Philippines. Okay. So, I don't know if that helps. The face of the question with the Five of Pentacles is being out in the cold, all right? It's poverty, being ostracized, thrown out, being out in the cold. And I get the feeling that if we're looking at Duterte in the Philippines, this is, I think it's just his international reputation. You know, he's just a bit on the fringe. He's not overly welcomed into the international community. He's kind of been shunned, is the feeling I'm getting. You know, he's kept at a distance, kept at bay because of, you know, because of his actions. People just don't want to deal with him and how he runs his country. But there's definitely an issue of poverty here. I think the Philippines has struggled for a long time with poverty. And the feeling I'm getting is that for Duterte, this issue of poverty is interwoven in him and his psyche and how he views things and wants to run things. But he kind of is feeling like he is out in the cold, cold shoulder. Probably, you know, maybe now that Trump is gone and the U.S. has a new administration in who's the opposite of Trump, maybe he's just feeling like he's got no friends now. He's kind of going it alone. All right. What is his challenge? Death. So normally you'll hear readers say, oh, the death card doesn't really mean death. It means an ending or a transformation, and that's true. I'm not saying Duterte is going to die, okay? But I do feel that this card is representing death and violence. This is this guy's calling card, okay? When you think of Duterte, you think of him killing drug users. You think of him just, you know, knocking people off. This guy is violent. And that is what his challenge is. If he wants to be a player on the world stage, this isn't, you know, not everybody can be Putin, okay? I'm sorry, but if he's just is telling us again, he's using violence and the threat of death against his peoples, and just, this is the cloak he's wearing. Okay. So what he's going to be facing is the sun. So exposure. a light's going to be shined on what he's doing. Everyone's going to see. It's the light of day. And that light brings hope and optimism. So just like, anything else, the more light is shined on his practices and behavior and his wrongdoing, or whatever he's got going on there, the more people are aware of it, the more you can begin to change it. The more you have some hope and optimism that you can see a better pathway forward. This is, I think, what he's going to be facing. Exposure. So what's foundational to him and the Philippines with the Two of Wands? I guess what I get is just about partnership, okay? About commitment. You and someone else, or the Philippines, or Duterte and other parties, maybe other nations that they have close ties to. They're just working together. There's a partnership there. Okay, so foundationally to the Philippines, I feel like they have a relationship, some sort of international relationship that they can rely on, that will help them plan to move forward. They have a mutual goals, mutual things that are important to them. So that there's a partnership there with somebody, okay? And that's what's foundational there. So Duterte might, maybe it was just him and Trump, but now maybe it's somebody else that's sort of bolstering him, that is working with him on mutual goals. And I'm going to say on the world stage with this planet, okay? On the world stage. The energy that the Philippines is coming from with the Knight of Swords. So this is a lot of fast change, tough change, all right? A swift action, but with the swords, it can indicate warfare, aggressiveness, just sort of battling, civil unrest, right? This kind of legal issues. So there's a lot of I'm going to say sort of either destructive, deadly, or legal kind of battles, fighting going on here. A lot of change, a lot of action. I think that there's probably lots of different forces that are trying to shift their country in lots of different ways. And it's just, there's a lot going on. And it has to do with, legal issues, military, warfare, these kinds of things. Where they're going to be moving into with the Page of Wands. And look at, there's another sun. There's another sun for them. I think this is actually saying the similar thing. More exposure, more communication. Information's going to be coming out from the Philippines or from Duterte. They're going to be making announcements of plans, of initiatives, of things they want to do, right? Of activities that they want to undertake. They're going to be telling the world, we want to do this, we want to do that, or there's just a lot of communication coming out from the Philippines. And with the sun here, that means we're going to be finding things out, information we didn't know, or just their new things. And hopefully they're optimistic and hopeful things as well. Maybe, that sunlight that they're going to be facing here, and here they are, that whatever that sunlight is showing, we're going to be starting to get information out about that. Okay, so that's the Philippines right there. Okay, I'm trying to see. Philippines. Now there's so many, right? Iran, North Korea, Mexico. Let's do Mexico. They're our neighbor. And for some reason that is beyond me, their president, it's not Vicente Fox anymore. He's long gone, right? Who's the new guy? It's not Obrador. I'm sorry. I don't know. See, I don't know a lot about all these kind of players, but I should know. Sorry, you guys. So Mexico, our neighbor. Oh my goodness. Trump really did a number on them, and why in the world their president likes Trump is beyond me, okay? So they've been the victim of U.S. racism. They've got a lot of gang and drug problems, a lot of corruption, a lot of disparity in wealth. Mexico. And, you know, this is immigration, 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 immigration. Illegal and legal. And not just of Mexicans, but lots of people from countries below them in South America travel through their country. Just, okay, I'm just getting the sense of just chaos and so many people, and you don't know where they're from, you don't know where they're going. Okay, let's take a look at Mexico. All right. All right, so for Mexico, the face card is the King of Cups. So the King of Cups is, you know, this is generally my Biden card, but I'm not going to call this Biden here because I'm asking about Mexico. So I would say their country, perhaps their leader, there's just a lot of emotion, very intuitive, emotional, compassionate. But the cups also can be negative emotions as well. A lot of fears, angers, paranoia, distrust. So this is, I guess this king is telling us that there's something there about their emotional state. Their emotional state. Let me get into this. Hold one second. All right, everybody. So with this, again, with the King of Cups, I guess I'm getting a feeling of this president is someone who, because of the politics and the people of his nation, is someone who likes to appeal on an emotional level. Please everybody. He's trying to, just appeal to people based on their emotions, based on their fears, or maybe, they're more positive emotions, but there's just a lot of emotionality there around this president and nation. Bizarrely, what their challenge is the Hanged Man reverse. Normally a challenge gives you the reverse meaning of a card, but now it's the reversed meaning of a reversed card. So, So basically I would say his challenge here is that he's just not thinking straight. He's not building his wisdom. Or the nation is not having a public discussion, right? That sort of marketplace of ideas that we know of here in the US, they're not kind of coming together, putting their heads together and trying to think through their problems. That's what they should be doing, right? You get all your good minds together, all your institutes or your brilliant people, you come together, you plan, you think, you brainstorm, you stop what you're doing. That Hanged Man is about stopping what you're doing so you can think through things, get some clarity, figure out your strategy. But being reversed means they're not doing that. They're not thinking through, making a plan, trying to organize things, trying to figure out how are we going to fix this? How are we going to change this? It's just a lot, chaos. There's no stepping back and thinking about things. It's just moving forward, not thinking through things. So we know that they have a lot of trouble with corruption. I think that it's just preventing saner heads from thinking through and trying to solve their troubles and their crises that they have to deal with. So what they're going to be coming face to face with is the Empress. And I feel in this case with Mexico, I just feel like what they're going to be coming face to face with is dealing with the US, because we kind of share land, right? We share a border. The people go back and forth. I'm getting immigration here. So what they're going to be coming face to face with is immigration, all their immigration issues, traveling across the land, both sides. What is going to be coming out of the US as far as immigration? What are all those South American countries, that always want to come up through Mexico to get to the US? How are they going to handle those kind of people who are immigrating and within and around in their own country, their own policies, their own laws, just everything around immigration, the border, that traveling, and the land. That's kind of what they're going to be coming face to face with. No surprise there. But definitely, yeah, immigration. Look at it, it's just flying across the land right there, trying to, right along the border, right along the border. Okay. Foundationally, with the Ace of Swords, Ace of Swords. So the feeling I'm getting with this card is that they need to build upon their legal system, okay? It's about truth and justice. And if you don't have those, your nation's going to be in trouble. And that's where the foundation of this question with Mexico is they need to address their legal issues, their military issues, their issues of justice. A lot of lawlessness, any kind of criminality, the gangs, right? The drug running, all this kind of stuff. As long as these things are out of control, Mexico will never be into their full power as a nation. They need to clean their house, okay? And that is foundational to them. There needs to be law applied across the land there. Law applied across the land. But see this rose with compassion, okay? Not authoritarian rule here. With love, with compassion, you do it right. You do it for justice, right? You do it for honor, those kinds of things. They have that ability. Justice can be a passion. This red rose is passionate. So there's some passion there that they can channel into their law and order issues. In the past, okay, we have the poverty card. Out in the cold, destitute, and yes, they obviously have trouble with poverty, crime, what have you. That's why so many people are leaving their country. They're one of many reasons. Okay, I'm not going to say it's the end all be all, but the poverty, the extreme poverty, this is something that's in their past. It's also in their present, but being in their past kind of tells us that energy is what's feeding into their future. They need to, they can either leave it in their shadow and it will continue to negatively affect them into the future, or they can work and deal and heal their shadows and let that uplift them to a better future. Well, what's their future looking like? Judgment. Judgment. So that actually tells me the more positive of those two. Judgment is when you come face to face with what you've done. It's an ending. It's an ending because you are finally held accountable. You are finally face to face with what you've done. You have to explain yourself in order to move forward. It's like, that finally, that court date or the jury decision. Once people have made their judgment and they've made their call and this is the end of it, it's over. Now you move on, right? So this is a kind of judgment that Mexico is moving into. I don't know, what the subject of that is, but what it's definitely saying is that Mexico will have, in their future, they're going to have to face the things that they have done. And, if we're talking immigration here, I don't want to, I'm not trying to offend anybody, okay? So I don't want to go too far down rabbit holes, but when so many people are leaving your nation, you really need to take a look at why. And we know why, right? There's crime, the kidnapping, the drugs, the gangs. They need to face those crises that they have in their nation. They'll never overcome them until they're faced, right? And this judgment is telling us that they will do that work, that they will, in one way or another, come face to face with those issues. It's up to Mexico how they want to deal or not deal with them, okay? Status quo, let your people go poor and hungry, let them flee for a better life elsewhere. Or, are you going to solve your national problems so your people stay, attend your universities, improve your academics and your economy, and just, make you a more powerful and successful nation? Okay, so that was what I got for Mexico, and there's a bunch of other countries that I want to do, but this video is long enough. So I guess I'm going to do a part 2 in the next couple days. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for being with me today. I really enjoyed this little trip around the world. I'm definitely going to do a part 2 so I can hit Iran, North Korea, and Canada, our friends to the north. And let's see, maybe some, see, maybe Germany. But anyways, I'll let you know next time what's coming up. And until then, have a great week, okay? Stay safe, everybody. Bye.